And we are live. So let's see where we are. We're going to get ready to start the show. We're going to do our replay. And let's see. You ready? Hello. How y'all doing? I think everybody should be safe now. We know about the mask and washing our hands and social distancing. So tonight we're going to return to you with Monday Magic. And tonight we're going to touch on a very controversial topic. We're going to touch on the Me Too movement, but the Me Too movement from a culturally relevant perspective. And so now it's only fair, because I want you to be safe, that we warn you that this could possibly cause triggers. By triggers, I mean if there's some unresolved issues that you have along the lines of abuse and that kind of thing, this may not be the show for you to watch. And we're fine with that. We want you to be safe. We need you to be happy. Just go ahead and maybe go do something else for a little bit. And then when we come back, we'll welcome you with open arms. But right now, we want you to sit back, relax. Don't eat too many wings and don't drink too much wine. But we do want you to enjoy the faces of Me Too.
Let's start with Elisa Milano calling out Harvey Weinstein. It started even before Tawana Burke made her clarion call in 2006. In fact, women, well, mostly women, have been told to put up and shut up for generations. It's not new. It's just being called out at maybe the right time for some people to pay attention. Telling these stories, our truths, for some women, is easier than for others because some are still in their restorative journey. Because for some of us, it started so long ago and is buried so deep that it's become our norm. The reality for many communities of color is that our families believe that because of our station in society, they had to institute our own don't ask, don't tell policy, issuing coded warnings like, don't go over Mr. Charlie's house if his wife isn't home. Don't take any money or gifts from anybody but your daddy. Make sure you take somebody with you when you go to Mr. Banks' house. This unfair burden many times leaves women with low self-esteem, lack of self-respect and self-worth, and let's not mention relationships. Now, to our stories. What happens in this house stays in this house. How many times have you heard those words? The original concept was to protect the privacy and safety of the family. For most families, it works well. But there are circumstances where, just watch.
Frankie, what are you sneaking around for? And don't forget to change the bedding upstairs. Cousin Jesse said you didn't change his linens last week. Frankie, you hear me?
I did change his sheets, but I put the stripe blue.
Then why would he say you didn't? Now, I know it's hard since he came here. We just have to tough it out until he gets on his feet. He's trying to start over. Maybe he and his wife will get back together. Now that it's working, he'll probably be moving out soon. Try to be a little nicer to him. He thinks you don't like him.
I never said I didn't like him.
Now, hurry and finish. Our show comes on tonight. I tell you, that girl is getting lazier and lazier. Barely does her chores without being told to, and her grades are slipping too. Frankie, hurry up! It's almost time for our show. Tell cousin Jesse he wanted to watch it.
He went out.
Out where?
I don't know.
Good. He needs to get out. He just sits around this house when he's not working. He needs to find some friends. Miss Turner's niece Barbara has called him out a couple times. Why are you walking like that? You hurting?
A little. I fell down. Steps at school. I need to finish my homework.
Thought you finished it already. Okay, hurry up. Maybe you won't miss all of it. What's that around your neck?
A chain?
Where'd you get that from? Ain't none of these hard-head boys give it to you, did they? I told you about accepting gifts from these boys.
No, I found it. Outside.
I've told you kids about finding stuff too. Let me see that. That costs some money. Whoever lost it is probably looking for it. So you need to take it back to wherever you found it.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
I don't know what's wrong with that girl lately. She's acting so moody. Frankie, where are you? Frankie! Is that you over there in the dark?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm out here. What are you doing back there? What were you doing back there?
Nothing.
What's the matter with you? You've been crying. What happened?
Nothing. Nothing.
Something's wrong. What are you crying about? Stand up straight and look at me when I'm talking to you, girl. Now tell me what's going on.
I can't.
Can't? What do you mean you... Baby, what is it? What's wrong?
If I say anything, everybody will think I'm a whore. Just I've been going into his room at night, but I swear I didn't. I never went near him. He said he'd hurt both of us, you and me.
Who said? Listen to me. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to either one of us. You hear me? It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. Now tell me what happened. Who's been telling you this?
Cousin Jesse. He comes in my room at night when everybody is asleep.
That low down.
I act like I'm asleep, but he keeps pulling at me, putting his hands under my gown. He sticks his fingers in. Oh God, Big Mama, don't make me say it, please.
Just child. Ain't nobody here but you and me. And ain't nobody gonna know about this but you and me. Else, go on.
He pulls off my gown and first he lays on top of me and then he makes me turn over and he hurts me.
Lord, why did you say something?
I told him I was and he slapped me real hard. Then he put a switchblade to my throat and said if I did he'd miss, only he used the F word, he'd hurt you and then me. I was scared that he'd do it. Then he gave me this chain and said I had to wear it to show I was his.
Ain't no slaves up in here. Ain't nobody owning nothing up in here.
You know I told him and he'll...
That's all right. That's all right, baby girl. The only one getting messed up around here is him.
I don't want you to get in trouble.
Child, ain't gonna be no trouble for me. Your big mama covers the ground she stands on. I'm just sorry you went through this. But it's over now. It's over now. You can believe that.
I don't want anybody to know. Kids will make fun of... Please, please don't tell. Please.
Look at me. Stop worrying. Didn't I tell you that Big Mama is going to handle this? You sleep in my bed tonight. Now, stop crying and go wash your face. I got this.
The next day, Big Mama took Frankie to the doctor to make sure she was okay, and then sent her to stay with Aunt Connie across town. When Frankie returned 2 weeks later, all Big Mama said was that cousin Jessie was gone. Later, one of the neighbors told Frankie that the week before she came home, some men from Mississippi came and said that they had a warrant for cousin Jessie's arrest. Huh. They took him away and nobody ever heard from him again.
My grandmother used to tell me that we don't get by with nothing in this life. Nothing. It comes back on you one way or another. So be careful how you treat people, because what you send out is coming back to you. Franklin is finding that out the hard way. And it's bad when you don't even know who to be mad at.
Do you believe in karma? I didn't till recently. I always thought of myself as a cool guy. Raised a little hell when I was younger, like everybody else. Okay, so maybe I went past what some dudes did, but that was 20, 25 years ago. Been an upright dude since then. Been married to Karen for 27 years now. We have 4 healthy, smart kids. Ronnie, Tamron, Kenny, and yes, yes. I served 12 years in the Marines. My house will be paid off next year. Go to work every day. I could retire in 8 years. I'm a deacon at my church. Truth is, while my life now is right, I raised plenty of hell in my younger days, including the early years of my marriage. Looking back, it's a wonder I'm still here. That old saying, 8 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy. That was me. I took no prisons. That's another saying. You reap what you sow. I'm paying for something that sowing now. Yes, baby girl. Beautiful girl. Love her to death. Look, looks just like her mama. I found out that Charles, the guy next door, best friend's dad, as we messing with her. You know what I mean? She kept getting more and more quiet, staying in her room, crying all the time. Nothing like herself, you know? Karen and I finally got her to tell us what's been happening. How could he do something like this? His daughter is the same age as Destiny. Karen wanted to call the police. I wanted to blow his brains into the next county. But Destiny is afraid people will be mad at her. And Wanda won't be her friend anymore. We took the girl to the doctor to make sure she was okay. I haven't slept in 3 nights. Started drinking again. Hey. You cope your way, I'll cope mine. After my third drink, it came back to me. Right after I come home from service, there's a young girl 2 houses down. Bonnie. She was fine. Mm. She was 15. No, her body was a lot older. Her mind was 15. I knew that and also knew what to do and say to get what I wanted from her. I did. A lie wasn't nothing for me to tell back then. Sadly, after a couple of months, I moved on. Just like that. Got married about a year later, and honestly, I haven't called about Bonnie since. Till tonight. Guess Carmen had me on speed dial.
Now, Ella's story is from a totally different perspective, a side we seldom hear about. A heart-wrenching story from a parent. Ellis.
Almost killed the man tonight. A man until the night I called my brother. There's a part of me wish I had killed him. I should have killed him. Sorry, son of a. No. I know they might call the police and I might go to court, but I don't care. I don't freaking care. Mike Givers, he's been my friend since junior high school. We were college roommates. How could he? He was my best man at my wedding. And I ain't here. All that is gone. Done. I would have thought himself as ladies, man. He definitely had an eye for him. I won't lie. I've looked at a woman more than once or twice, but that was it. And all of them were legal of age. But somewhere in my gut, I could always get me a shaky feeling. Where maybe he make a move on a friend's wife. But not nothing like this. I thought he was my friend. My brother. There's no way a friend would. Damn! Every time I close my eyes, Kid told me what Uncle Mike did to him. I actually spaced out. I asked him over and over, tell me what happened. And tears rolling down my face. He's praying that she was wrong. That kind of man stabs his brother in the back like this? What kind of freak touches an 11-year-old child? His best friend's child. He was her godfather. There was no God in what he did. How you let that in your mind? You read about it in the papers how to be an old white man who's lived alone for 50 years. Or some weird dude who hung around the playground. That's your buddy. I drug him out the house, beat him senseless in front of his wife and kids. I'm sorry about the wife and kids. But the rest, he kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. He was crying like a baby. But I couldn't stop. After a while, his face was replaced with mine. It was the face of a man who failed to protect his daughter. Don't come at me with that turn the other cheek, the Bible or God. I'm supposed to be her hero, her protector. How do I look my baby girl in the face? What do I say to her? I let this happen on my wife. I handle being a failure in a lot of areas, but I can't begin to tell you how it feels to be a failure as a father. I should have protected her. I should have kept her safe.
There are similar stories all through our neighborhood, probably yours too. Listen to two women share the experience of their youth. Here is Amy, who tells the story of getting her first job out of high school. And then you'll hear from Emerald, who talks about her family misadventure. There are similar stories all throughout our neighborhood, probably yours too. Here's Amy, who tells us about getting her first job out of high school.
My name is Amy, and my first job was working in a small neighborhood restaurant, not real far from my house, but too far to walk. I rode the bus. It was a small place, maybe 15 seats, and the people there were friendly. The manager, Ken, said he thought of all the employees as family. And in the beginning, it was like a family. Ken was a little hands-on with everybody, but I dismissed that as being friendly. One day during lunch, Nancy and Denise asked me if I had been initiated yet and laughed. I said I didn't know what they were talking about, and they looked at each other and rolled their eyes. That Friday, payday, things got crystal clear. Ken called me in his office and said there was a problem with my check, but he was trying to straighten it out. He motioned for me to sit down and close the door. He said I was doing a good job and that he hoped I was happy there. I said, yeah. He sat next to me and told me he was glad because he liked having me there. He said I was smart, not like the other girls, but that I had business sense. And if I worked hard and continued getting along with everybody, it wouldn't be long before I'd be moving up. I thanked him and asked him about my check. He said it would take a week to get it corrected. I was upset. I needed that money to pay my part of the rent and to catch the bus. He said he understood, patting me on my thigh. But then he kept on patting, moving his hand higher each time. I pushed it away and jumped up. He was at the door before I could reach it. He tried to kiss me, but I turned away. He laughed and leaned into my face and said, "It may not be today or tomorrow or next week, but before it's over, you will come across. Every girl that's ever worked here has, and you will too. Consider it other duties as assigned." He smiled, opened the door, and I rushed out. I ran into Nancy as I turned the corner. She could tell by my face what had happened. Her response was, "He just wants to play a little. It's not so bad once you get used to it. You do a little extra, he'll give you a little extra." And she winked. I left that day and never returned.
I know his heart is broken, much like Emerald. What do you do when someone you trusted and believed in you betrays that trust? I don't watch scary movies, but if I did, I know someone who can play the monster's part.
Hey, my name is Emerald. I read the papers and I see the news, and yes, there probably are a lot of that Me Too stuff going on out there. But not all situations are relegated to the boardroom. Trust me. For me, it started when I was 12 at 487 Newton Street with my Uncle Henry. He was everybody's favorite in the family. Pleasant personality, great storyteller, never forgot an anniversary, birthday, graduation. He was always present, the go-to person for any family emergency, handing out wisdom, experience, and money when needed. Yeah, everybody loved Uncle Henry, and he loved everybody. Or maybe it was that he loved certain things about each of us, but nobody told me that. I found out on Saturday afternoon when my mother was running errands. My dad was at work. Tommy and Brandon were at football practice, and my sister Opal was at the beauty shop. It was my turn to sort and wash the clothes. In our neighborhood, a lot of us are related, so we always kept the doors unlocked. We would come in and out of each other's houses all the time. So it was no big deal if I heard Uncle John's big booming voice through the house saying if anybody was home. I said I was downstairs and told him where everybody was. He whistled as he came down the stairs, looking around. He said, "They left you down here by yourself?" I felt uneasy as he kept walking around the basement, looking at things instead of leaving, but I kept loading the washer. Next thing I knew, he was behind me, squeezing my shoulder, saying, "You sure have turned into a pretty girl, you know that?" I tried to move away, but he held me tight. It kept saying how pretty I was, and said that he bet the other boys thought so too. He asked if I had been kissing or hugging any of them. His voice sounded different than it usually did. It was lower and kind of scary. Something was wrong, but I wasn't sure what it was. I told him I needed to go upstairs to get some more clothes. So I bent and got the clothes basket. He grabbed me at the waist and started grinding against me. I stood, and then he leaned his weight against me and said the clothes could wait, pushing his body hard against mine and forcing me against the dryer. He started squeezing my breast so hard it hurt. I told him to stop, and I tried to move his hands, but he was too strong. Then he moved his hands inside my pants, saying he wasn't going to go all the way, that he only wanted to touch it. No one would know. When he finished touching me, he put $20 bills in my hand and said this was our little secret and to go wash my face. I kept that secret for 5 years. 5 years of trying to avoid him. 5 years of being afraid others will find out. 5 years of $20 bills. In the 6th year, I found out I wasn't the only one who had to wash her face. 5 years of secrets and 3 years of therapy.
It's a shame that predators don't come with warning signals. Ones that will let you know when a previously safe situation no longer is, as Sherry unfortunately discovers.
I'm Sherry. My youth was pretty happy, at least until my junior year in high school. That's when my girlfriend Keisha's family moved to the neighborhood. We didn't have a driver's license, so her brother Kenny, who was 26, took us around. We teased him, calling him our designated driver. He was our driver and chaperone, making sure we didn't get into any trouble. He had just gotten out of the army and didn't have a job yet. School had just started, and Keisha was on the cheerleading team, and I worked on the school newsletter. Things were great. He never complained about our many outings and last minute plans. Then one night at a party, Keisha got sick. We called Kenny to pick us up. He did, but said his mother said to bring Keisha home first since she was sick. No problem. We dropped her off, and on the way home, he took a different way to go to my house. When I told him, he slammed my head against the car window and told me to shut up. I was shivering. I didn't know what to do. He pulled me into the driveway of an old, empty house and dragged me inside without saying a word. He pushed me into what was probably the living room. It was dirty with old clothes laying around and smelling musty. He saw me looking around and he punched me into the stomach and told me to take my clothes off. I didn't know where we were. There was nothing else for me to do but to do what he said. So I did. Then he dropped his pants. He told me to look at it, to touch it, and kiss it before forcing me to lay on a pile of dirty clothes. When he finished, he told me to get dressed. On the way home, he asked me if I wanted to stop and get ice cream or something. Just like that, back to his old self, as if nothing had happened. When I got home, I ran into the bathroom and washed my face, so my mother wouldn't have known that I'd been crying. Took a shower and went to bed. I didn't say my prayers. I didn't say them for a long time because I didn't believe I had anything to be thankful for. I wanted to tell Keisha, somebody, but whenever he was around, he'd always give me this strange look. And I knew I couldn't tell. It happened every couple months. Even when I had tried to avoid him, he'd show up where Keisha and I were. It stopped when we had moved to Birmingham to take care of my grandmother. Months later, I told my granny. She said to use it as a lesson learned. That nice is nice does. The lesson I learned: do not trust nice guys.
Let's travel into the corporate world. These people each have different stories and perspectives, but the end is always the same. For Tiffany, her awakening came working in the community. For Monica and Danny, it's a new take on the corporate climate.
I already know that some of you won't consider this a Me Too situation, but it really is. I've always been active in my community, no matter where I lived. When I moved back to my hometown, I moved into my grandmother's old house, renovated it. It's what economists and developers like to call an upcoming neighborhood, code word for gentrified area. Move the black and brown people and sell to the people who don't look or live like them. Anyway, several people from the old neighborhood organized a group to preserve the history and culture of the neighborhood. That's where I met Owen. He was strong, intelligent, and commanded respect of the city officials. We had a lot of things in common. I thought we were a good team. We had got a lot done for the community. He was as passionate about our relationship as he was community work. Now, at first, that was exciting, but it started to become controlling. I tried to discuss it with him, but he attributed it to it being under a lot of pressure for the community project. Eventually, it got so bad one night when I said I wanted to be alone, he forced himself into my condo and locked the door behind him. He forced me on the couch. I then told him what he was doing was equivalent to rape. He then said any man would tell you that if he's been here before, he can always come back again. And women know it. I wanted to report him, but with him chairing the revitalization program for our organization, I knew that project was suffer. The people downtown would view it as another example of sexual predator mindset of a black man. But it wasn't an excuse. I really believed that this was an either or situation. He sent me flowers, a letter, and then cornered me at the neighborhood event to say how sorry he was. And he don't know what came over him, but it will never happen again. And I told him I promised that he would never get the opportunity again. I changed my locks, blocked him from my phone and from my social media, and resigned as from the community to offer help in other ways. But as the old folks used to say, there's nothing to be learned from the second kick of a mule.
Monica is one corporate woman that turned the tables on her abuser. Everyone has a breaking point. Many would not agree with her approach, but I have to agree that it worked. Now, I'm not here to pass judgment on anyone, but I have to say this, I ain't mad at it.
I am the second highest ranking woman and the only person of color in an upper management position at this corporation. Quite an accomplishment, isn't it? I'm not bragging. It took a lot of hard work and a little determination and some maneuvering to get here. Working hard and hustling doesn't work for everyone, especially everyone who looks like me. Don't get me wrong, I worked hard, put in the time and effort, yes. I have a modicum of success. I'm successful. I'm successful. It wasn't easy. I got scholarships, grants, worked 2 part-time jobs, and I still accumulated over a $75,000 worth of student loans, but I was determined to make it. I determined the first time my cousin snuck into my bedroom at 14, I mean, I was even more determined when our church deacon caught me alone in the choir room. And I absolutely resolved that failure was not an option. My economics teacher told me there was only one way I could pass his class. Don't preach to me about the benefits of diversity and inclusion. Those are concepts and constructs invented by sociologists. Any kid on the block can tell you that diversity simply means adding a drop of color to tint the water. And that inclusion doesn't automatically bring about acceptance. I worked my butt off for my career. I got this position the same way the good old boys did. I manipulated the system that had manipulated me. I was denied a promotion for the third time, a position that I had earned. Given the customary pat on the head and a maybe next time speech, I decided to play the game the way I had seen other women there play it. At the company's fall retreat, the section manager tried to force me to play Ring Around the Bedpost with the pillowcase promise of the next promotion. So yes, I decided to use my career currency as leverage. It should not have been a surprise to him when the next promotion came due that I reminded him of his bedtime promise. As he started to vacillate on his promise, I played back our midnight conversation along with the candid photo in a frame. Technology is a wonderfully effective bargaining tool.
The media and a lot of us think that the Me Too movement just applies to women. There are some men who have to struggle as well, like Danny. He's a nice guy. He tries to do the right thing. Well, guess it's true. Good guys do finish last.
I know that you weren't expecting to see anyone who looks like me up here today. But if what we're doing is real talk, that's what I'll do. I work in a competitive industry, finance, and despite what the news says at our company, women have done well, really well. When I got promoted, I knew there was a chance I'd be reporting to a female manager. No problem. The only thing is that my new boss was someone I had a brief relationship with when I first started at the company. Okay, yeah, I know you never pissed and played in the same spot. Excuse me. But when you know better, you do better. She was a little older than me, and at that time, that was a plus. We both were just having a little fun, neither of us expecting anything long term. We parted after about 6 months as friends. And then over the years, we both rose the ranks. Her a little faster than me. Other than an occasional company function, we hadn't really talked, so I went into the new job with a clean slate. And things were going really well for almost a year. Then she started making references about things we did in the past. At first, I tried to ignore it or pretended that I didn't know what was going on, and I just tried to get back on task. Then one day, she called me into her office. She was reviewing some reports and told me to close the door behind me. And then she motioned for me to come around her desk to see what she was referring to. And then all of a sudden, she kissed me. And I'm not talking about like a pet kiss, but a missile launching kiss, if y'all know what I mean. I stood up and said that if I had done anything, and I mean anything to make her think that I wanted that to happen, I apologize. But my career and my family were important to me. And I had no interest in entertaining any. She stopped me. She said she had no interest in jeopardizing my family relationship and that as long as I put out quality work, I have no career issues. She was just looking for an alternative to a few lonely nights. I told her I appreciated her thoughts, but I would have to pass, and I hoped that she understood. She sat at her desk and started reviewing her reports again. So, I took that as my sign to leave. When I opened the door, she said, "That cliche about a happy wife is a happy life, it's true. It's just as true as a happy boss means no career loss, if you know what I mean. Needless to say, she soon found issues with my work. And that was all followed by a cryptic offer to work overtime to catch up. Yeah, I mean, I could have reported her, but our industry is small and there are no lies. I talked to my wife and told her what was happening, and we both agreed that moving on was the best option. So I started looking for jobs in my hometown. At least there I had family and support.
There are so many ways to look at those impacted by this Me Too movement. Each is unique, and we shouldn't try to compare anyone's pain and humiliation with our own. To some, it may seem as though she got what she asked for. But look closer.
I look good on paper, don't I? I graduated cum laude from a prestigious university. Went on to get my MBA from Stanford in less than 2 years. I come from a family where success was not an option. It was an expectation. There was no room for excuses. Absolutely unacceptable. Yes, some of my drive comes from my family, but some of it was my determination to prove to myself that I was better than what I allowed to happen to me. I entered the corporate world right after grad school. And because my manager said he saw promise in me, I was fast-tracked into the company's executive training program. And don't get me wrong, I worked hard for my success. Paid off my student loans within 5 years, and I owned my own home before I was 25. I'm what they call a type A personality, a real go-getter. I started off with the right intentions, but along the way, I noticed what I thought was others moving up ahead of me. When I asked my manager what I could do to move ahead, he suggested I put in extra hours and volunteer for special projects. In fact, he had the perfect plan in mind. Him. It went on for 3 years, and I lucked up and got out, and they hired another go-getter. I started to warn her, but then it was another training program. Don't act surprised, and don't act like you don't know what happens. It's probably happened to some of you, but you won't come from behind those masks either. No, you're not about to jeopardize your social status, titles, and six-figure incomes. Anyways, it's over. Home. Executive office. Luxury cars, nice salary, company stock. Some say fair exchange is not robbery. I'm not sure I'm one of those people.
Lakeisha. Anyone from the hood knows a Lakeisha when they see one. We pass judgment too quickly, often overlooking important information, as in Lakeisha's case. Yes, from the outside, it looks like she makes poor choices. But what real choices did she have? And what choices were made for her?
I know you think I talk a lot of noise, and maybe I do. But the truth is, I have to. I never had anyone to take up for me growing up. And now that I'm grown, still nobody. So I try to get my bluff in and pretend to be hard. Truth is, most of the time, I'm scared. Yes, scared. My family wasn't poor. It was close. I have 5 brothers and sisters. I'm next to the oldest.
My daddy went to work one night when I was 12 and never came back. Word was there was a terrible accident during a routine traffic stop. Mama never was the same after that. So to keep the Child Protective Services from putting us in the system, I had to take care of my house and my siblings. You might say that I looked for a father substitute, or maybe some neighborhood men misunderstood what I needed. By the time I was 17, Mama had died and I had two babies and no husband. After Mama died, my brothers and sisters started going their own way. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment. I put the kids in the bedroom and I slept on the couch. Even with the government assistance, okay, welfare, I still couldn't always make ends meet. Mr. Jones, the apartment manager, said he understood, but the rules were the rules. A few weeks later, he returned with a bottle in a paper bag. Told me he might be able to reduce my rent in exchange for certain conditions. A little house cleaning, a few home cooked meals, late night talks. I didn't want to, but I was struggling to pay my bills and buy food for my kids. Don't judge me. I had two babies to feed. When was the last time your kids went hungry, huh? I stopped looking in the mirror and made myself available on Tuesday nights.
Well, you've seen some of the faces of the Me Too movement that don't make the news at 11. Hopefully, if you've experienced it, know that we empathize with you. And if you haven't, stay woke.
Well, that's our second show. It always does that, but we'll try to do better. We're going to put a link on our Facebook page for you to be able to catch it for the rest of this week in case you missed out on it. But again, be safe, be happy, and maybe just a little bit kinder to each other. You take care. Bye.